What's up?
Hey, how's it going, Jay?
It's going pretty good. As you can see, friend drew some new items. Corey,
What did I say?
as you can see, Katie drew some new items on my whiteboard. I decided to leave them up for you gentlemen.
Nice.
She drew a little what on there?
She drew a little something. Are you on your phone, Corey?
Little love notes.
Yeah, very nice. Yes, I'm on my phone. I forgot I am flying to Florida today. So,
Oh, really?
yes, and we gotta leave in a little bit here. So, I have my
Okay.
stuff all packed up. But yeah, we got a few minutes. Gotta go to one of Shauna's eye appointments. So,
True.
yeah.
What have you guys been up to since our last convo? Justin, I know you sent me a text message that had a lot to do with uh, that book, The Future is Faster Than You Think. You want to tell me what you're up to over there?
Yeah. So yeah, that book had a lot of cool companies doing new things and a lot of ideas that can help with future companies. Um, I don't know, the ones that kind of lean that like really resonate with me are these stuff in like healthcare, biotech. Um, there's just like
What are
uh,
they doing?
what's that?
Like, give me some examples of some biotech companies that blew your mind.
Let's see. There is so Bionaut Labs, Bio Naut. They are doing something that I've always been really passionate about, and that that I would not only want to fund, but also want to be involved in creating this sort of technology, and that's micro like nanobots. So like internal sensors that are telling you everything about
Yeah.
how many nutrients you're taking in, whether you're lacking, testosterone, or how your hormone balance is, what your immune system is like based on your T cell count, white blood cells. So just kind of like monitoring everything, via these internal sensors that'll, connect to Bluetooth onto your phone, and you can just open an app, kind of like the Fitbit app, or like Apple Watch, and just check your stats for the day. Similar to the toilet thing you were talking about, having the sensors in the toilet tell you everything about your health.
Yeah.
This is just more of like instead of having to wait to urine, and now you just have it
Streaming.
constantly streaming. So
Jeez.
yeah, that's one big one that I kind of starred and wrote in caps. There's a ton in robotics, like robots for surgery. They have a one that's like pretty far. It's called Star, and it's a robot that kind of just right now it's just focused on tissue repair, but it can like suture you, faster and more precise than any surgeon can. So
Cool.
it's like um, their main goal right now is to be able to use it in like space station, or if we do like populate Mars, then they you need something up there that
When we populate Mars.
when yeah. So like that's sort of like the beginning in my mind of like those sci-fi movies where you get in the pod and it like diagnoses what's wrong with you, and
Yeah.
whatever the problem is, it can fix it. So that's a cool one there.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a ton. There's like a lot of internal sensors, external like non-invasive sensors, portable imaging. So like getting like having your own portable ultrasound device or MRI device that you can take with you. Flying ambulances, that'll be a thing.
Oh man.
And then of course growing organs, and then getting into the whole field of longevity, and people working on like tripling, quadrupling the average lifespan just by messing with the genes that turn on and off aging. So
Who's really into that is Peter Thiel. We brought him up before, the guy who took on Elon Musk and tied it with PayPal. They merged to make PayPal. Uh, he is an eccentric genius. He's a VC, and he's spending a lot of his money tackling the anti-aging thing from a scientific standpoint, right? He's actually wants to be the first person to live to be 120, and he's going to accomplish this by he takes HGH, the hormone, human growth hormone, every day. And he knows that taking human growth hormone as much as he does for as long as he does is going to likely cause him cancer, right? Because it actually thickens the organs and makes them stronger inside of your body. But he did some calculations, and it showed that we're on pace to cure all these cancers by the time he has it. So he figures that he's going to be the first to live to 120 by like hedging the bet, by kind of just like merging those two graphs, which is insane to me, right? It's just, but the guy's
It's a big gamble. That's the ultimate gamble right there. I like that.
I mean, I guess he checks himself for cancer every day. I have no idea how he's monitoring that, but I just know he takes HGH every day. That's really interesting to me. The CRISPR stuff's obviously pretty cool. Like I've heard Elon Musk talk about anti-aging one time, and he says, people that do yoga and all these things to expand your lifespan, sure, you'll feel healthier, you'll live a little longer, but to really like move the needle, it's going to have to be something in terms of like using CRISPR.
Using what?
Using CRISPR.
Oh, CRISPR.
It doesn't matter how long like a bee does yoga or a lizard. They're not going to live as long as like a human. For humans to live hundreds and hundreds of years, we're going to have to do some sort of gene editing, which might end up happening at some point. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff. I think there was something called, I think it was the lifespan escape velocity or something escape velocity, but basically the longer we grow, the more time we have to figure out how to live longer. So it's like, in your last 10 years of life, you figure out how to live 10 years longer than that. And then, the last 10% of that, you figure out how to live another 10% longer. So it's like, this escape velocity thing.
I like it. It's like the ESOP,
Yeah.
Just like this. Perfect.
Little chunk. ESOP that.
Yeah. You just keep deferring those taxes, and you reap the dividends. It's great. Perfect.
Very cool. Corey, you got anything you're excited about that you're working on? Anything?
I watched a bunch of the Tom Bilyeu, talks and stuff, and really like the one with Deepak Chopra. That was mind blowing. It was great.
I know.
We gotta watch that one.
It was just.
Does he not make it seem like we're just like
super enlightening?
We're just living in a simulation, the way he like describes it.
Yeah.
He's like, I got the first glimpse of the Matrix. He's like, He's like, he thinks that, we're living in some sort of thing that's like a projection, because it's like it's not.
Yeah, I just got his book. Came in today.
Yeah, nice.
I read his book as well. I bought that one too. We'll read it together for sure. Oh, speaking of which, Justin Pena, ladies and gentlemen, is best friends with Deepak Chopra.
Apparently, my God.
Not best friends, no.
Literally touched the man.
It was a one-time encounter.
That was super cool. What was he like in person?
Well, I got this sort of, so I first saw him in the meditation that he ran. He was doing like a 7 a.m. Live meditation for people going to this conference, and I sat in the back, so maybe that's why. But I feel like I didn't get much out of that meditation group. But afterwards, I started talking to him, and before I talked to him, he was talking to some other people, and I just kind of watched those interactions, and I did get a sense of like, I felt like he was a little full of himself to an extent, but he just kind of talked in roundabout ways that it was like really hard to understand what he was like what he was talking about. But
I have a feeling that he views the world in a drastically different way than most people.
Yeah, it's really hard to get behind what he was saying, but some points clicked, and he just made it seem like not condescending, but like oh yeah, like this is how it is, like you should know.
I know, and I'll see you on the other side once you cross that threshold and figure out and see what I see. I'll meet you over there, but I'm way over across the line past where you're at. So I'll see you later.
No, I also thought it was pretty funny. He's like all like blinged out. You know, he's got these nice shiny glasses. He's got his like, Jordans on.
Yeah.
Nice
really?
watch.
He's best.
He like, you know, I wouldn't expect that from the way that he talks, like in his podcasts, right?
Yeah, that's what kind of threw me off. It was like, that seems a little materialistic.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. I think that my perception of him is that he views the world like we don't live in a simulation, and savors it, right? He's the kind of person, like he says, he walks down the streets of New York, just walks through like Chinatown, Koreatown. He's like, they just love the flavor and the spice of it, right? I think that he really just is like taking a full advantage of like his perception on the world. He's one of those people that he hears, oh, we live in a simulation. What am I going to do with that information? And he takes it to a really positive place rather than a negative place. You know, I've noticed that speaking to a couple different people, when you ask them about it, their first reaction is like, well, they're turning it off. You know, they're going to turn off the simulation, or you know, oh my God, that means we're going to do mass suicides. Like a lot of people take it to a place filled with anxiety. You know what I mean? A lot of people, then there's some people that take it to the complete opposite place. Like, for instance, when I think about living in a simulation, I stop and I look up like at the trees and I'm like, how real does this look? I'm like, this is amazing.
They're doing a pretty good job.
I'm like, the graphics in this video game are top notch.
Right.
Yeah.
I stop and appreciate the little things a little bit more when I go into that mindset of playing with that idea. I'm like, oh man, if that's the case, this is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and to think of how small, you know, things go, how to program all of those things. Just imagine how much code there would be. There would be more code than we could even perceive.
I've studied this a lot. Actually, I've dove into this for weeks, just about this exact idea of how much code it will require. And think about No Man's Sky. Like, so Elon Musk actually went and like met the creators because he loves that concept of, if we are in a simulation, it's the old adage where they say, if a tree in the forest hears it, does it make a sound, right? Mm-hmm. Because the computer wouldn't actually have to run any processing power unless you were actually visually looking at it, right? So unless I walk outside and look around the corner, then it would process in my eyes. There's actually there's a book written about this called The Holographic Universe, the Holoverse, something like that. It was a long time ago. They dive into a lot of research about this, but where was I?
If the tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? There wouldn't have to be computing power associated with that.
Yes. Think about like when you have a VR headset on, right? There's an infinite world out there, but when
it only has to show you what you can perceive. Right?
It's not processing everything else that's going on. It's only processing whatever you see. And that's where I get to the point that I was trying to get to. Are you guys familiar with, it is called the observer effect in quantum mechanics?
Yeah. The buckyballs experiment.
In physics, the observer effect is a theory that mere observation of a phenomenon inevitably changes that phenomenon. So there is a YouTube video, which, God, if you ever want to think that we live in a simulation and there's evidence, this is it.
Yeah, that's like the whole.
Have you ever? It's a 5-minute video, and guys, it's probably worth watching. We might have to just pull it up. If you've never seen this, Corey, hold on.
Oh yeah, I saw this guy.
Can you hear that?
A little bit.
To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines. Where they cancel, there is nothing. So when we throw things, that is matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter, like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through one slit. It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through two slits, we should get, like the marble, two bands. What? An interference pattern. We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. But we get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense. But physicists are clever. They thought maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So they decide to shoot electrons through one at a time. There is no way they can interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits and it goes through another. And it goes through just one and it goes through just another. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit to see which one it went through.
Get your mind blown.
But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both.
It acts differently when you observe it.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
I wonder what the measuring what
It
that
acted as if it was aware it was being watched.
That physicists step forever into the
That's crazy.
world.
So let's just talk about that for a second. Okay, if there's ever been proof that we live in a VR, guys, I hate to say it, but that's probably it. That's probably as close as we're gonna get. You know?
Yeah, that always boggles my mind.
I mean, but doesn't that make sense though when it's tied to the whole, like, that's what Elon Musk it is. It's kind of like a thing that's only processed when we observe it. So it's like when you look down deep into atoms, you can keep searching and looking and studying. You can look far out to the galaxy, but there's nothing there, well, just like light shining. But like wherever you decide to look, it'll show you something, right? Whatever you focus on expands. Thanks, Josh.
Wow. Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Schrodinger's cat. You heard of that one?
Yeah.
Dead in the box.
It's both dead and alive. No, I really, I think that's wrong because there's more variables needed. If you approach a box and you think there's a cat in it, it's either dead or alive. Believe it or not, the chances of it being dead are much higher. Reason being is because you have no idea the lifespan of this cat. right? The chances it was only alive in this short 10-year span of the 14 billion year universe. The chances of it being dead are pretty fucking high. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about that. They didn't. I don't think they took everything into account right there. But anyway.
Trying to get us demonetized with that foul language. My gosh.
Are you kidding me? Have you heard Joe Rogan? How about we just smoke some weed on the podcast with Elon Musk? David Goggins, ever heard of him? Best self-help book of all time. Guy just curses the entire time. But yeah, isn't that crazy though about the observing?
That's super weird.
Yeah, man.
Super weird.
I know. The only explanation to me for that is that it's obviously a sin. But
that would definitely answer a lot of the questions.
That would answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. One concept that Deepak went into in that talk was like about consciousness and how he thinks like consciousness doesn't just live like in our minds. If consciousness is just permeating the entire universe and it is everything, and if it had some sort of desire, its main desire would want to know itself. So every single thing is just an extension of this consciousness trying to get these signals from the outside world. So it's just living through us, through that lamp on the street, piece of a rock outside. It's just, how does it feel when it's a rock? I don't know. Well, it doesn't feel much. So it probably doesn't put that much time, effort, and energy into like developing those things. So it would start developing these smarter and smarter sensors to observe and know itself. I thought that was a pretty crazy concept.
Yeah, I think I got that from him as well. And then in the last Science of Consciousness conference, it was in Switzerland last summer, and there was a guy there that he had like this device to measure the consciousness of a tree, and like stuck it into this tree, and it like maps to his computer, and it like plays like music depending on the frequency of like the tree. And the cool thing was like once we interacted with the tree, it like changed the frequency of the music that was coming out. And yeah, it was like it made me really think about the whole like, oh, consciousness is everywhere. It's just like, we have brains that are like, think of it as like a radio receiver or antenna or something. We have a higher ability to pick up on these consciousness waves that are streaming throughout the space. But things like trees and rocks, they can still, consciousness still flows through them, but they don't have a very advanced antenna and mixer board or whatever to kind of decode what those signals are.
To process it. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense for sure.
We're all just feeding it back to something else, right? We're all just observing and reporting something back to this one entity. Wouldn't it be nuts if all of our consciousness is one, right? We all have like the same consciousness, but we're just interpreting the world from different perspectives and feeding it all back to the same idea.
Yeah, the source, baby, just like the Matrix.
Yeah, the architect.
Yeah.
No.
Crazy.
Get to go, Corey.
Yeah, I think the Uber's on the way, but once I'm in the Uber, I should be chilling for a 25-minute ride. So we're just heading downstairs. We got to go to South Florida. We got to go one of Shauna's eye appointments. So
cool.
Yeah. Is he on his way? Okay. I will hop off real quick as I make my way down because I'll probably lose signal in the elevator, and I'll hop back on.
Well, we can just make this a short one, and we'll pick up on Friday if you guys want.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be open on Friday for sure.
Corey, I liked your idea about something that we can all take a look at and discuss. Any ideas, Justin?
What's that?
Any ideas on things that we can all take a look at to discuss on Friday?
You mean
What's
like
interesting?
Like a company or like
anything? Like right now, I'm really into morning routines. So if you got anything on that?
You're waiting on what?
Morning routines.
Oh, morning routines.
Yeah.
We can talk about morning routines. Still got 6 months.
All right.
It's been an ever-evolving process for me to get my morning routine solidified.
Yeah, I have a little spreadsheet here, and I'm like tweaking it every day.
Well, we could. I think we lost Corey, but we can.
All right.
We'll think about it, and then text you guys about different ideas for the Friday call.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
See you guys on Friday.
All right, guys. See ya.
Bye.